Very good morning to all. Welcome back to the lecture series by Professor Anuradha Jain. And today in this session, we are going to discuss about fiscal policy. Till Great Depression of 1929-30, the role of government was minimal. We used to believe in laissez-faire economy. And economists said that market mechanism will play its own role and the demand and supply will control the whole economy itself. But at the time of Great Depression, it was found that the theory of classical economists failed and there was excess of supply in the market. And the Say's law of market, which said that supply creates its own demand, also failed during this time. And this was the time when Keynes theory came into existence, and Keynes conveyed that to all the economists and to the policymakers that role of the government is very important in the economy to control the whole functioning of the economy. And at this juncture, fiscal policy came at the forefront. The theory of income and employment of Keynes brought a revolution in the thinking of the economy as a whole. And at that time, he also made emphasis on the role of the government, and fiscal policy became one of the important tool of the economic control and management for the world as a whole. So fiscal policy we can define as the policy of the government wherein like they control the economic factors like national income or economic growth, economic development, level of employment, etc. through its various instruments like budgetary control. They also have instruments like taxation, public borrowing, etc. So in this session, we are going to discuss about what is fiscal policy, what are the instruments of fiscal policy, how this instrument functions, and what can be the limitation of fiscal policy where it becomes ineffective or less effective. So let us come and discuss about these details in this session. As far as the meaning of fiscal policy is concerned, it is the policy of the government of making discretionary changes in the pattern and level of its expenditures, taxation, and borrowing in order to achieve certain economic goals such as economic growth, employment, income inequality, and stabilization of the economy on a growth path. In other words, fiscal policy refers to the shaping up of the tax structure, determination of the amount of tax revenue, and the volume as well as discretion of public expenditure for attaining a specific objective like full employment. So thus the modern fiscal policy provides a technique to attain and maintain full employment through manipulations of public expenditure and revenue in such a way that keeps an equilibrium between effective demand and supply of goods and services at a point of time. So fiscal policy can be used for dampening these swings of the business cycle and also to contribute towards the maintenance of a progressive and high employment economy free from excessive inflation or deflation. And according to Keynes also, the fiscal policy is a reasonable, effective weapon to check inflationary pressure. As we have seen that the government can influence the level of economic activities in a country through its fiscal policy. And fiscal instruments refers to the budgetary measure which the government uses and manipulates to achieve some predetermined objectives. And there are basically three major fiscal instruments in the hands of the government, and that is government expenditure, taxation, public borrowing. Now, as far as the public expenditure is concerned, it can affect the economic development of a country through its size and composition. Expenditure on defense, police, and such other activities being unproductive can rarely help in the growth of the country, but on the other hand, productive expenditure on development of infrastructure and basic industries assist growth in a significant manner. The importance of public expenditure becomes more prominent during the period of depression or the recession, when the private entrepreneurs are reluctant to take up investment activities, and their public expenditure injects a fresh purchasing power and fills the gap created by the deficiency of private expenditure. An initial rise in the public expenditure sets in motion a progress of recovery from the condition of depression, and it can also motivate the private investment by creating imbalance in the economy. And in the words of the Keynes, government expenditure becomes a balancing factor in order to maintain national income at a given level. Such an expenditure may be progressively raised during depression phase of the business cycle and progressively reduced in the recovery phase. Taxation is another instrument in the hands of the government through which government can affect different activities in the economy like consumption, production, distribution, etc. Now, in the developing countries, the government cannot rely much on income tax for raising revenue due to low per capita income of the people. Now, further imposing a tax on people with low income will have adverse effect on capacity to work and save. An attempt to raise revenue through income tax can act as disincentive to productive activities in the private sector. So, furthermore, a tax on capital gains or other unearned income may not adversely affect the will to work or save, as the person concerned does not make any endeavor in earning such income. Taxation of luxury goods is both just and expedient. It diverts resources from non-essential consumer goods industries to essential developmental industries. Now, furthermore, imposing of heavy taxes on luxury goods introduces progressivity in the tax system and thus reduces income disparities. But however, no government raised sufficient revenue by imposing taxes only on luxury goods. So it will have to evolve taxes on goods of mass consumption. But care should be taken that poor are not forced to bear major part of the burden of these taxes. Another instrument in the hands of the government is the public borrowing. Sometimes taxation policy may fail to mobilize enough resource in the developing countries due to low level of per capita income. So sometimes it may not be even considered to be just imposing tax on this poor community. So some people recommend public borrowing for financing of long gestation development projects, the benefit of which may not be available to the present generation. Like when government make investment on infrastructure, benefit may be taken by the next generation, but it requires a huge investment which government would like to borrow from different organizations like World Bank, IMF, etc. Public borrowing may be used to check non-essential private consumption expenditure. The government may issue debentures, bonds, etc. with attractive rate of interest for this purpose. When the government fails to collect sufficient resource, it may resort to compulsory savings also. So public borrowing will be successful only when debts are collected from the idle balance with the people. If borrowing leads to fall in current consumption or it's financed through cut in investment, then it may not have desired effects, because sometimes we have seen that even public expenditure lead to crowding out effect on private investment. So if that is the case, then this policy may not be that effective. Now, as far as the external sources of borrowing are concerned, developing countries can take loan not only from developed countries but also from international financial institutions, as I said, like World Bank, IMF, etc. So let us discuss about the types of fiscal policy. There is no unique fiscal policy that can provide appropriate solution to all kinds of economic problem under different circumstances, different economic condition, and at different point of time. In fact, different kinds of fiscal policy have been suggested by economists and used by policymakers in different countries under different economic conditions to achieve specific macroeconomic goals. So, classification of fiscal policy is based on the frequency and purposes of changes made in the revenue and expenditure programs by the government of different countries. However, fiscal policy actions are generally classified under the following categories, like automatic stabilization policy, compensatory fiscal policy, and discretionary fiscal policy. The automatic fiscal policy means adopting a fiscal system with built in flexibility of tax revenue and government spending. Built in flexibility means that there is automatic adjustment in the government expenditure and tax revenue in response to rise and fall in GDP. In this kind of fiscal policy, the tax system and expenditure program are so linked to GDP and unemployment that tax revenue and public expenditure change automatically with change in GDP and unemployment. The fiscal policy is so formulated that with increase in GDP, tax revenue increases and government expenditure decreases automatically. Tax revenue increases because household income increases with increase in GDP. Likewise, tax revenue decreases and government expenditure increases automatically with decrease in GDP and increase in unemployment. Another variant of stabilizing policy is compensatory fiscal policy. The compensatory fiscal policy is a deliberate budgetary action by the government to compensate for the deficiency in and to reduce the excess of aggregate demand. The compensatory action is taken by the government in the form of surplus budgeting or deficit budgeting. In this kind of fiscal policy, the government uses a greater degree of discretion than in automatic stabilization policy, and compulsory fiscal policy can be revised from time to time as per the need of the country. So, besides the policy of surplus budgeting is adopted when the government is required to control inflation, and the policy of deficit budgeting is adopted when the objective is to control deflation. The third type here is discretionary fiscal policy. A discretionary fiscal policy is one in which ad hoc changes are made in the government expenditure and taxation system and tax rates at the discretion of the government as and when required by the economy. In discretionary fiscal policy, the government makes deliberate changes in like level and pattern of taxation, the size and pattern of expenditure, size and composition of public debt. The discretionary changes in these fiscal instruments are made with a view to achieving certain specific objectives. Now, there are two types of problems that we face with automatic fiscal policy. First, the countries do not work as expected under the automatic fiscal regime. Economic fluctuations, despite increasing government intervention, have been taking place, forcing the government to make discretionary changes in the budgetary policy. So, the discretionary policy has therefore become the most common form of fiscal policy. Secondly, this kind of fiscal policy may be suitable for mature and developed economies. So, in less developed countries or developing countries, the level of revenue and expenditure are generally so low that automatic changes in tax revenue and expenditure are hardly sufficient to maintain economic stability. As far as the objectives of fiscal policy is concerned, it varies from country to country according to the level of economic development. While it aims to maintain full employment and to stabilize the growth rate in developed countries, the aim of fiscal policy in the developing countries is to reconcile the conflicting objectives of accelerating the rate of capital formation and economic development, equal distribution of income and wealth, increasing job opportunities, and price stability. The main objectives of the fiscal policies are like economic growth, generating employment, price stability, reducing income inequality, achieving external balance. Economic growth with suitable increase in GDP has been the main endeavor of all the countries at all the times. In recent times, achieving the potential growth rate is the prime concern of the least developed countries, and maintaining the growth rate at its potential is the major concern of the developed countries. Now, given the manpower, technology, natural resource, the growth rate of country depends on the rate of savings and investment. Therefore, here the role that are assigned to fiscal policy in this regard are to create conditions for increase in private savings and investment and to enhance investment in the public sector. So, in order to promote savings, the rate of income tax can be reduced, tax incentives can be provided for savings, and corporate sector is provided with a number of incentives and concessions to promote private investments. The incentives and concessions provided to the corporate sector include like tax holidays or high depreciation allowances, development rebate for capacity expansion, investment subsidies, exemption or import duties on capital imports, and so on. So, all these measures have been used in India from time to time. Another objective we are talking about is generating employment. So, expansion of job opportunity is one of the important objective of fiscal policy always. In the 30s, the promotion and maintenance of full employment was given utmost attention under the influence of the Keynesian theory. According to Lewis, the objective of economic growth will be incomplete without providing full employment in the economy. So, public expenditure is the most important weapon to raise effective demand directly or indirectly by raising the level of private expenditure. So, thus, fiscal policy can help in creating an atmosphere where people get employment opportunities. Tax benefits in the form of lower or no excise duties may be granted to those goods which are produced under the labor intensive techniques like handloom and handicraft. So, such tax benefits will induce private producers to employ more labor. Another objective is like price stabilization. A major function of any fiscal policy is to ensure price stability in the economy. Now, in a period of deflation, budgets must be so prepared that expenditure rise and create income for those people having high marginal propensity to consume. Similarly, during the inflation, expenditure can be cut and spending capacity of people to be curbed. Now, for this purpose, anti-inflationary taxes like super tax, expenditure tax, taxes on luxury items, etc. may be imposed to control non-essential expenditure. So, the excess purchasing power can be withdrawn through direct tax, compulsory savings, and public borrowing. Tax policy should encourage voluntary savings. The policy must be progressive such that it may adversely affect the rich people. Another objective is like reducing economic inequality. The government can transfer the purchasing power of people through its fiscal policy. Through public expenditure, the purchasing power is diverted to the people, whereas taxation and borrowing can be used to shift the purchasing power from the public to the government. Now, these transfers can be regulated to minimize the inequalities of income and wealth. Extreme disparities create political and social discontentment and general instability in the economy. So, following measures can be taken to reduce disparities of income and wealth, like progressive tax may be imposed to reduce the spending power of the richer section, while poor people should be exempted from the tax. Luxury and harmful goods should be heavily taxed. The proceeds may be used on the social services or on the items which benefit the poor the most, or unearned income should be discouraged. So, thus, redistributive public expenditure and tax policy can solve the problem of inequalities of income and wealth. The problem of external imbalance arises when the payment exceeds the revenue and BOP becomes the deficit over a period of time. The government is then required to intervene to restore the external balance. Fiscal policy is one of the important measures to reduce the gap between external payment obligation and external earnings. This gap arises mainly due to unfavored trade balance or current account deficit. So, fiscal policy, especially the tax policy, can be used as an effective tool of restoring the external balance where current account deficit increases mainly due to widening the gap between exports and imports. The fiscal measures are adopted for this purpose are like imposition of heavy import duty, especially on the import of consumer goods, subsidization of exports. These measures, however, work efficiently only when both imports and exports are highly price elastic and countervailing measures are not adopted by the trading partners. If price elasticity is low, these measures may not work. Fiscal policy has achieved a great success in the advanced countries. However, it suffers from a number of limitations in the developing countries on account of their inherent characteristics. Some of the limitations responsible for only partial success of fiscal policy in the developing countries are like the tax structure of the developing countries is narrow and rigid. So there is a need for a well neat and integrated tax policy. Another limitation is like on account of sociological reasons. There is a tendency on the part of the people to invest their savings in immovable property and jewelry. The interest seldom induces them to part with their savings to the government sector. So the outlook of the people is now slowly changing with the development of banking and financial institutions. A sizable portion of the developing countries is non monetized, adversely affecting the success of the fiscal policy. Another problem is like lack of adequate data regarding income, expenditure, saving, investment, employment, etc. complicates the task of the state to formulate and implement an effective fiscal policy. Now, further, the administrative machinery responsible for execution of the fiscal policy may be corrupt or incapable, inefficient, and politically motivated. Another problem may be limitation, may be like the government fails to collect the required amount of tax revenue due to large scale tax evasion by the public. So the effect of fiscal policy but are more direct as it involves shaping of the tax structure, determination of the amount of tax revenue and volume as well as the direction of the public expenditure. On the other hand, the effects of monetary policy depends upon the initiative of the investor once the cost and availability of credit is altered through this policy. So therefore, the effect of fiscal policy are direct while those of monetary policy are indirect in nature. Now I am sure that you must have understood the concept of fiscal policy. Now let us see the Indian economy, and you know that India is a mixed economy, and you can see that the role of the government is very important over here. And fiscal policy, monetary policy both functions simultaneously to achieve economic growth and to reduce unemployment, to control poverty, and so on. So now here my question to you is, since like you have studied monetary policy, fiscal policy, both the policies, so which policy you think is more effective when a government want to control inflation, whether it is a fiscal policy or monetary policy, or in other words, you can just say that which policy under which circumstances becomes more effective when there is inflation in the economy and the target or objective of the government is to control inflation. Please do write to me your comments and your reply to these questions.